Secure ship for sea. Make all preparations for getting underway.
Somewhere beyond the sea.
Under the sea, under the sea.
I walked with you once upon a tree.
Rock the boat, don't rock the boat, baby. Rock the boat, don't tip the boat over.
The love boat.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Ye come seeking adventure and salty old pirates, eh? Sure, you've come to the proper place.
WDW Radio, your information station.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the WDW Radio Show, your Walt Disney World information station. I am your host, Lou Mongello, and this is show number 214 for the week of March 20th, 2011. After more than a year of planning and anticipation, the WDW Radio cruise on the Disney Dream set sail on February 27th for a fun adventure we'll all never forget. This week, we'll look back on the cruise, recap every day at sea, and discuss how a community of people, many of whom were complete strangers to one another, left as a family of great friends. We'll also look ahead to doing it all over again in 2012. I'll have a few quick announcements, then play more of your voicemails at the end of the show, so sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of the WDW Radio Show.
A dream is a wish your heart makes.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic port aboard this tiny ship.
On February 27th, 2011, more than a year of planning, excitement, and anticipation culminated with the WDW Radio cruise on the Disney Dream. Nearly 500 listeners, friends, and members of the WDW Radio extended family descended on Port Canaveral to embark on one of the Dream's inaugural voyages for 4 days of fun, sun, new friendships, and some truly magical memories. And while much of that trip was recorded with thousands of photos and, yikes, videos, I wanted to recap and share the memories of something I know many who went will never forget. And speaking of old friends and new, I wanted to, of course, enlist the help of just some of the people who were there, although I would have loved to have had everyone here, but the studio is relatively small and 457 people at my house might be a problem. So I wanted to welcome in just a few familiar voices and a few new ones to the show. Once again, no particular order. Mr. Tony Big Papa Caggiano, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be back.
Hopefully the show will not be 24 hours like the last time you were on. Also coming back to the show is our good friend, Mary Jo Collins.
How you doing, Lou? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming back on. Speaking of thanks for returning, Mr. Scott Still Loving Cheese Otis.
Hello, everyone. I'm actually still on the cruise, so don't tell anyone.
And a few new faces and voices include Nolan Woodall. He is Nolan from the live broadcast and In the Box fame. Nolan, welcome to the show. Finally out of the box.
And no kidding, I'm very honored to be here with everybody.
It's great to have you. Another box person, future singing sensation, and girl with the dad with the coolest basement anywhere, because all the retro video games, Tammy Tucky.
Hi, everybody.
Giddy like a schoolgirl, because she is a giddy schoolgirl. Somebody who called in literally almost every week leading up to the cruise. I loved the enthusiasm. Darlene Nagy from
West Seneca, New York. Hey, guys.
And of course, and there will be no easy joke here, none of this would have been possible without the help of Becky Menken from MEI and Mousefan Travel.
Hey, Lou.
Golf clap.
You were waiting for the punchline there, and I wasn't going to ruin it.
I was because I know you too well. I mean, we've had our break, we've had our week away, but still, I kind of have you figured out.
After a year and a half of planning, of talking to you like 4 times a day, we needed like the Ross and Rachel break. We needed to break for a week, so this is the first time getting back together.
I was thinking that actually happened when you locked me out on my deck, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, we'll get to night 3 in a little while.
I kind of figured.
I was hoping and still am hopeful that my saint-to-be wife can join in as well, so I can thank and yell at her as well. We'll talk about the welcome aboard in due time. I got to tell you guys, the first thing that when I was thinking about the cruise was, is it me or does the cruise just seem like ages ago? I mean, it was about 2 weeks, and it seems like months and months and months since the cruise.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I unfortunately didn't get to go back to Naples after the cruise, so I came up here, got home to an ice storm. So yeah, it's I'm a million miles away from the cruise.
Did anybody else feel the same way? Scott, you, of course, you're right there in Central Florida, but
I'm right here, but still, I'm miles and miles away. It just seems like it flew by, and it was so long ago. But it was great memories, so we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was probably the fastest vacation I've ever had. And like we were at Disney World before and after the cruise, but it just went by so quickly. I think this is the quickest I've ever seen it gone by. But yeah, I really do miss it. I wish I was down there. So.
I know. And honestly, as I was thinking about, doing this recap, I didn't know where to start because there's so much about the cruise, even before, we got on board. And I wanted to have a bunch of you on because I think certainly all of your experiences were likely different, certainly very different than mine. Becky and I, we were planning this even before we announced it back in it was November 2009.
Yeah, the planning started in October, actually, because the announcement was November.
Right. So they had announced the ship, and we immediately had said, we're doing this. And it was right after the Adventurers Club event. It was right about that same time. I remember spending a long, lonely Halloween at midnight in my car on the phone with you as we were planning and choosing our date so we could announce it. I guess it was show 143 or so, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, I was immediately, pleasantly, and incredibly surprised at what the immediate response was to it. How many people were instantly excited, not knowing the itinerary, not knowing anything, just the idea of getting together and going on a cruise. Let me ask some of you guys individually, especially those of you who are first-time cruisers. So Darlene, as somebody who, again, was calling in every week, when you first heard about the cruise, was this one of those no-brainers for you or something you guys said, well, yeah, this might be, a good time to go on a cruise, and just the fact that there's a few other listeners might be cool as well?
It was actually something that we had wanted to do, but never knew when to do it. And your cruise plans coincided with my husband's vacation time. And he knew that the best way to take me on my first cruise, because he's an Old Navy man, and so he kind of had a familiarity to boats and stuff. So he said this was like the perfect length of time, and a big brand new ship was probably the safest thing he could take me on, and with a whole bunch of friends was even better.
Well, when you said Old Navy man, I wasn't sure if you meant a military man or just sort of a guy at the mall man. So thank you for Tony Caggiano, I am sure you were just desperate to get out of the icy tundra of the Northeast.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up again, Lou. Appreciate that. But yeah, we couldn't wait. At the moment you announced it, we decided we were going, and we've been counting down the days ever since. I can't believe it's already passed. It's remarkable to me that it's already gone, but it was an incredible time.
Yeah, I liked watching your updates of driving down and driving back. They were very interesting.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah, that was...
No problem. Sounded like you had a lot of fun driving that long.
What was that? Sick child, ice storm, 26 hours, and flooded basement?
Oh,
Pretty much sums it up?
Yeah. Just
What
I
an
took the magic
ace.
home with me, Lou. That's what that's called. And not to sound bitter, but I think Dan Braunstein is still on vacation down there. So I'm sending him a hurtful. I'm sending him a hurtful text right now as we speak. So.
Now, Nolan, you were very much an in the box person, and you actually came on the cruise solo, which I think is awesome because I think that's what the cruise affords people is the ability to come on your own because you know there's gonna be friends there. Was this something again too you thought about doing early on, or when did you sort of decide that cruising with us was what you wanted to do?
Well, I really liked the idea when you guys first announced it, but I wasn't totally sure at first because I wasn't sure where the money was, things like that, stuff I had to really look at. So it took about a month, I would say, until after you guys had announced it and before I actually said, okay. I called up Stephanie at MEI and said, give me a quote, let me know what's going on. I want to do this. So, yeah.
And as fate would have it, you had a spare bunk in your room. Scott Otis was a man looking for a friend, and the two of you you roomed together for 4 days, and yet you're still talking, which is nice.
Yes, that's right. I miss him. I do. I miss him very much.
Yeah, so Scott, this was a very late addition for you. You kind of came to the game like,
Yeah, I had been doing a lot of vacation leading up to this. I didn't think I would be able to get the time off or have things work out. And things, about 2 months before the cruise actually fell into place, and I was able to hook up with Nolan there, and he let me basically bunk with him in the spare couch. So it was great, and I appreciate that, Nolan. Thank you very much. You're very welcome.
Nolan, he is cuddly like a Duffy bear, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
See, you know from experience. I think the toughest part for a lot of us, and for Becky and I on one hand, as we were trying to plan it, and for those of you who did book early, and February 27th just seemed like a lifetime away, was the anticipation. Waiting for information. Those of you who are uber planners were just dying for a schedule to come out, and that's why we started trying to release some things like a door decorating contest and flag contests, so you guys had stuff to do. Did any of you, and feel free to jump in, did any of you sort of do things on your own to count down? I know a lot of people when they vacation to Walt Disney World, they'll do stuff for their kids or they'll do stuff for their husband or wife to sort of count down to their vacation. Any of you guys do that on your own leading up to the cruise?
Yes, I did.
Other than calling the show every week?
Besides calling the show every week, yes, I did. I did. That helped fill me and get all my excess energy out. Trust me, because I drove everybody at work crazy. But I did put a countdown Mickey counter on my phone, on my Droid. So he told me how many days I had left.
I also had a counter too, and it counted seconds. So every time I'd look at it, it said, "Tammy, there's 1 second closer, just 1 second." And then, I just think it was 1 second closer, so it helped me get through it, which was pretty nice.
And I know Nolan was keeping the entire Twitter nation updated with, 167 days and 12 hours.
It was making me nervous.
Yeah,
I was constantly getting nervous.
I had
Loved
a camera on
those
my iPod
tweets.
and checked it every day. So
yeah,
I wanted to make sure everybody knew because everybody needed to know. We've only got this so much time. Get ready.
And Becky, it was weird for you and I because at one point it seemed like February 2011 was eons away. Next thing you know, we're at FedEx the night before praying that the printing comes out as fast as possible, as if we didn't have enough advance notice.
I do not know what happened to that year and a half. I seriously don't. I blinked, and it seemed like every week we were doing little pieces of planning all along the way. And obviously not really knowing how large a group we would end up with, not having a lot of information about the ship. So it was a challenge, but once we got on board, it like everybody said, it just flew by so fast.
Yeah, we all sort of experienced a certain degree of frustration because we wanted to know more. But considering the ship was still being built in Germany, there wasn't a lot of information coming out very early on because there were no prior cruises to ours at the time that we were planning. But Mary Jo, part of the reason why I wanted to have you on here is just in addition to all the funny stories we're going to tell about you, is because the door decorating contest was something that we wanted to give people to let them start, getting excited and start planning ahead of time. You very much crushed it when it came to your door, and we'll talk about that later on. How far out in the planning process did you start working on that and really sort of get into cruise mode with your husband and your kids?
Well, I mean, we booked the cruise the first day that it was available. So, we've been on board ever since day one. We were so excited. The kids have always been excited. My husband claims that the day that we booked the cruise, I started shopping that moment. So I bought, like a new dress or a new pair of shoes or a new something every single day all the way up to the cruise. But besides that, the kids were just, uber excited. And as far as the door decorating contest, we probably started on that 2 or 3, I don't know when you announced it, but probably the minute you all announced it, we started like gathering pictures and, getting all of our stuff together and kind of planning out what we were going to do with it. So it worked out great, and it was awesome to share that with everybody.
Yeah, it looks like you spent about 9 months on that door, and we'll talk about the door decorating contest later on. But when the time finally came, and Becky and I panic, really truly set in those few days leading up to the cruise, it was really cool because we did a couple of things. We had the meet of the month early on that Saturday. That Saturday evening, we had an illuminations party for those people who had booked in the group, and were staying on property. It was great for, Becky, and I'm sure you feel the same way, it was great for us to sort of watch immediately these relationships and friendships forming. People had acted as though they had already known each other. And I think it was because of what you guys were doing leading up to the cruise, the relationships that were formed on Twitter, Facebook, in the WDW radio forums. It took on a life of its own. Deck by deck were sort of forming their own little clans, and there was the Deck 7 cool kids, and Deck 8 is one more deck cooler than Deck 7, or whatever each of your taglines were. But as I watched the dynamic of people getting together, that was really, really neat to see.
And I totally agree with you, Lou. Watching it all come together on the forums and then seeing it play out in front of us at especially at the Illuminations party was really incredible because, like you said, I would have never thought that people didn't know each other at that point because it just seemed like one big family reunion.
Darlene, again, you too, also very active in the community. What was that like for you, starting to put names to faces to names?
It was utterly amazing to finally meet everybody that I've talked to on Twitter, on Facebook, in the forums on a daily basis in person and actually be able to see and have a conversation one-on-one. It was like overwhelming, but it was so exciting all at the same time. It was great to finally meet Mojo and Tammy and Nolan and Lori and Stuart.
Tony.
And Tony. I can't forget you, buddy.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh, Caggiano, we'll get to you. You'll have your turn. Don't worry.
But that the dessert party and everything that you guys put on for us was a really good starting point. And Nolan we had a nice luncheon in the afternoon for whoever could make it at Viennapoli. And we got to talk and eat over lunch, which was great, So, I mean, I think the friendships that I've formed on these forums and everything, I think they're going to last forever.
And Nolan, tell me what you feel. I kind of got the impression, and I saw you and Scott already, feeding each other brownies at the dessert party, but you went on the cruise solo, but I never got the sense that you were alone, if that makes any sense. And I saw that too, immediately at Viennapoli and at the dessert party.
Yeah, whenever I got there, I met everybody at Viennapoli after the meet, of course, and just... It takes a minute, to get it through your head that these are the people I've been talking to online. But once you get past that and you get to this is, the friend I've been talking to, it was just amazing. And I spent the whole day actually at Epcot with Darlene and Keith and Stuart and Michelle. and up until the dessert party, and we did that. And I found myself throughout the entire trip going around with people from Twitter, from Facebook, just the forums, and just hanging out and just having a fun time and having new experiences and being able to experience the parks and the cruise and everything with these people that I've talked to for such a long time, creating new memories and new experiences that were just amazing. It was the best trip I've ever had to Disney World.
That's exactly what we hoped for and wanted to hear. And I can tell you that I spent most of the Illuminations party sort of just walking around and talking to people, and the sense of excitement in the air was palpable, and it was less about the highly caffeinated drinks and sugar and fireworks as it was the anticipation of, this is it. Tonight is the last night, the last sleep before the cruise. And the great thing about it is because it was a new ship, whether you were a first-time cruiser or first-time Disney cruiser, or you were a platinum Castaway Club member, it was a new ship. Tony, what was it like when you and your family finally stepped on board? Kind of what was your thoughts when you saw the atrium, and what was the first thing you guys did?
Oh, we were blown away. I mean, we had been looking at photos of the ship being built. We were watching the live, they had the video from the shipyard right from the moment they decided that they were building the ship. And you mentioned your cruise, we started. But walking in, it was like, I honestly, truthfully had goosebumps. It was remarkable when we walked in. They announced us, and everywhere I looked, it seemed like every time you turned around, there was somebody who was part of our group. It was amazing.
Yeah, somebody actually came up to me in the terminal and said, "Excuse me, are you the guy with the group did you guys buy out all of Deck 7? Because everybody had black Deck 7 Cool Kids t-shirts in the terminal, it seemed."
Yeah, it was just getting to see everybody. And even before, the nice thing about having the meet of the month and then getting together for lunch, the cruise, everything really started on Saturday for me. Just meeting everybody, and then the lunch at Via Napoli was insane. I sat with Becky and Lou, so it was like hanging out with Brangelina. The flashes are going off, and I'm cutting. Becky didn't approve of her meal, so she took mine, and well, I gave it to her. I offered it to her because
come on, at least
it was fun. There was so much going on, more of which we'll talk about later, I suppose. But it was really, by the time we got to the cruise, it was all about the boat, because I felt like I already met almost everybody on the cruise at that point. I was talking to so many people. It was fun.
Yeah, the great thing about a group of this size, in addition to being a challenge that Becky and I can certainly attest to, is that there's a lot of familiar faces, a lot of people that you see, but everybody was able to have red lanyards, and so you're able to sort of easily pick out people in your group. So even if you didn't know them, you knew that you were part of the same community. It was very easy to form some of those relationships. And what we did in order to sort of make that easy for everybody too, was that Becky and her team had set up a welcome center over at the 687 Lounge on really my home away from home, which is in the district of Deck 4. And it was great because it had sort of that central location where people could come. They were able to get their credentials. We had stateroom tour signups. We had a Dream Cruise bingo game, which is something that Becky does all the time to help people meet each other, and also allowed them to register for the door decorating contest and turn in their flags. And you could just see the excitement of the people as they came in. And Becky, being able to do it there and sort of get people to meet each other one-on-one and then sort of in little groups too. We saw people sort of breaking away and already leaving together to go eat and go start exploring the ships.
Right. And that Welcome Center also served a couple other functions as well. We had an amazing amount of first-time cruisers. So we wanted to make sure to have a location where people who were cruising for the first time could come and ask questions and have a support system for their very first cruise so that they could get their answers quickly and then go off to enjoy the ship.
Yeah, and one of the things too, which people didn't know before they got on board, was they got sort of a goodie bag, courtesy of MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. It was a drawstring backpack with the logo on it. You had your lanyard with the credentials in it, which also had a little itinerary. What else was in there, Becky? There was a button.
Yep, we had buttons. We had the little wave phone holders.
Oh, right.
Which I loved those because the first couple of times we cruised, we have these wave phones that you can't put anywhere when you're walking around the ship. So it had a carabiner on it, and it was just easy for people to carry around their phones, which is nice.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, and it was we did a lot of that sort of with little freebies and little surprises along the way. I think the first surprise that they got and the first question that they had was in all of their credentials and in their lanyard pouchers, and thanks Colleen from MEI and Mouse Fan Travel for folding them all and sticking them all in the pouches, were the Dream Keys. I believe that's when we started. Everybody got their first Dream Key on the cruise.
Yep, that's
right.
There. No one knew what they were yet at that point.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to ask you. When you got this funny looking little business card sized Dream Key in your pouch, Mary Jo, did you have any idea what that was or what it was going to be used for?
Not a clue, but I knew I wanted a lot of them.
I wanted one to keep.
I know, me too.
I just had this sense.
You knew that somehow it had more value than the paper it was printed on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you did give us clues about that. So once I saw Dream, because you said the key, and once I saw Dream Key, I knew it was something to do with what you told us in the box a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
So.
and what we ended up explaining was that these Dream Keys would be things that you could win throughout the cruise, which would be redeemed for tickets that we would draw for a number of different prizes throughout the cruise, and we'll talk about that more as we get to the farewell party. So after you guys checked in, after you got all your stuff, a lot of that day was really about the lifeboat drill. There was a sail away party up on deck and really sort of exploring on your own before the first dinner seating. And what do you say, Becky? Probably 95, 97% of the cruisers were all in the same dining rotation. There was a lot of red lanyards at the 6 o'clock dinner seating.
Definitely.
There was a lot of red lanyards, which was great. All we needed was just a few more, and we could have taken over a dining rotation. I have a feeling that's going to be a goal for later.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot of people looking around like, what's the deal with who are all the lanyard people? But what did you guys do that day? I mean, Nolan, when you got on board ship, you and Scott sort of skipping around arm in arm. What did you guys do when you got on board?
Went down and tried to get my scooter. I was the guy in the scooter. Tried to get my scooter in the room and everything, but that didn't really work out too well. But I just wheeled around the ship and just looking around and just seeing the artwork and you just had to go around and just look at everything, because that was the first thing that came to mind. Just look up and look down and look around and take everything in. That was my first instinct. And then, of course, I had to get some food because, come on, it's, free food everywhere, so go get some food.
So, Scott, you had heard, all the shows about the cruise. You probably watched at least a second or two of some of the videos that were posted. Were the things that you were seeing when you got on board, whether it was your virtual porthole, the enchanted art, some of the decor, was it what you had expected, or was it more or less than sort of what you had been led up to expect?
Yeah, I had become quite educated about what was there, what all was available, through the videos and various podcasts and whatnot. But yeah, when I got there, everything that I physically saw completely blew all that away. The lobby, the chandelier inside that giant lobby. And really, right when I just entered the ship, I was basically just wandering around dumbfounded, just basically stumbling upon things that I had seen earlier. It was, I really didn't have any directions that I was going to. I was basically just wandering around and wow, here's this and that. And I remember seeing some of the things that you had done through your video live chats from previous cruises. And it was just amazing how absolutely beautiful everything looked. So, literally, it was amazing that I even made it to the deck party, because I basically just stumbled upon it.
Mary Jo, what about you and your family? This was really time for you guys to explore the ship. Did you do a little bit of that? Did you take part in any of the activities? Bring your kids to the Oceaneers Club or go to the Golden Mickeys that night?
Yeah, we the first day we explored a whole lot, and one of the things that I was really concerned about was getting into polo, And that was one of kind of the aggravations prior to this cruise, is not really having the opportunity to be able to book one of those special dining experiences prior to our sailing. So we had heard that if we went to the D Club that we could possibly get on a waiting list. And I'd just like to say that that was like the easiest thing ever. Walked in there, I could have said, 10 people, not a problem. They just called up to Paulo, and Paulo said, yeah, okay, be here at this time. And it was just simple. So we also explored like the kids clubs. My daughter was in the Edge, so we went up there and explored a bit, and that was just super cool. And she was so excited, and just kind of getting her feet wet with what to expect for the coming 4 days. And then we took our son down to the Oceaneers Club and / Lab, which, gosh, I wish I could have just spent, a whole day in there myself. I was so jealous of all the technology and fun things that he had to play with. And you could just see the gleam in his eye. He knew that, he's going to get to spend some quality time in there. He's kind of a techie, so he definitely enjoyed it.
And the first night, February 27th, actually happened to be the night of the 83rd Annual Academy Awards. They jumbled up the schedule a little bit, and that night they had the Golden Mickeys as the first show. Did any or all of you go and see the Golden Mickeys that first night?
Yes.
I went. Yep.
Yeah, I went also.
Yes, we did too.
All right, so Becky, just you and I were the only ones who didn't go and see it. Caggiano family, what did you guys think of the Golden Mickeys? Now, you had cruised before, so had you seen it once before?
No, we've never done the Disney cruise. We did a cruise 10 years ago, just Charlene and I to Bermuda, but never the Disney cruise. I was actually a little disappointed because the first night, the boys, Jordan and Dylan, were so excited to go with the other kids, go with Nick and Marion to the Oceaneers Club, that we let them go to the Oceaneers Club, and they actually missed the first show, which I thought was one of my favorites. And I was a little bummed out that the kids didn't get to see it because they loved the other shows. They loved Believe, especially.
I thought you were saying that my kids were a bad influence. So,
but Tony, I was with you during the Golden Mickey, so that kind of made up for it.
It did, because it's magical to sit next to Scott Otis and hear him squeal like a 13-year-old girl. And when Mulan came out, Mulan's my favorite. I mean, it was fun. We had a blast.
We'll get to Scott squealing on deck 11 and deck 12 a little later on. Darlene, having been on the ship and seen the Golden Mickeys and getting into the beautiful Walt Disney Theater, which we'll visit again the next morning, what were your impressions of both the theater and the show? I mean, was it something that you were expecting to see on a cruise ship at sea?
Not even close. I didn't think that anybody could do anything like that. I mean, it was like going to a Broadway show. I was amazed at the characters and how well themed everything was, and the theater itself was just absolutely beautiful. When I walked into it and just seen it, I was just like in awe, total awe. I just could not believe it. We thought that each show that was put on, you didn't think that they could top it, but they did. They topped each and every one of them. All those shows were fabulous. That's all I've been raving about the shows to all of my friends, saying, if you guys ever go, you got to make sure you see the shows.
Lou, I really enjoyed the Golden Mickeys. It kind of took me back to the last time we were on a Disney cruise, and Emily was about 4 years old, and she got interviewed outside of the theater by the what did they call that lady? Something Rivers, and she was interviewing some of the audience members, and she was up on the big screen inside the theater. And so going back to see that again just kind of brought back all those memories, and to see her now, how much she's changed, it just kind of, tugged at the heartstrings. But I thought the show was wonderfully updated, and they had brought in so many new Disney characters. They had Rapunzel, and what were some of the other ones? Bob Iger took Roy Disney's place in the show, and just some really cool things that they had done with it. And I thought it was really awesome that they had the Golden Mickeys on the night of the Oscars.
That character and show was only topped by the characters and shows that were in the evening meetups every night at the district at about 10:30. It is something that repeated itself on the calendar every single evening. The first night was kind of a blur, I think, not because I had too many adult beverages, but because I think a lot of us were just so exhausted from getting up early and getting on the ship and exploring. It was a relatively quiet night in the district that first night. Becky, refresh my memory. I didn't dance, did I?
No, you didn't dance. No, but it was not relatively quiet. I think you did. Yeah, you relaxed. There you go. You relaxed.
It was a great way to unwind with people and sort of wind our way through the different clubs and watch people explore Pink and Skyline. Did any of you guys go to the district that evening?
Yes. Yes. I think we started out in Pink. It seemed like every night had like a little different thing.
Yeah.
We would start off in one place and usually end up in Evolution.
Yeah, I think I went to Skyline that first night and stayed there for quite a while, personally. Yeah.
Did you guys have any favorites as far as which? Because each place has sort of a very different vibe to it. You know, Pink, a little more quiet and feminine and relaxed. Skyline, a little bit more of a contemporary kind of thing. And Evolution, obviously, was the dance club. Was there one that you found was your favorite?
Evolution.
I have to say Evolution also, but we liked Pink because you could actually have a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
personally like Skyline. I really like the mood in there and the drinks. It was really cool.
Yeah, the theming in Skyline was really nice, but just Evolution, being able to just kind of cut loose was great. But Skyline was good for just kicking back and relaxing and just, letting the day unwind almost.
Yeah, Skyline is great. It's sort of a double-edged sword because you like the fact that it's small and intimate. On the other hand, you kind of wished sometimes that there was more room because we would sort of take over little corners here and there, and I felt bad because a lot of times people had to stand, and it's not the kind of environment that you will sort of stand at the bar. It's more of a pull up a comfy chair or pull up a comfy couch and just sort of lay back and relax. The next morning, February 28th, the Monday, was Nassau Day, but we asked people before they decided to get off the ship, if they did. I think a lot of people actually stayed on. We had our Welcome Aboard Our Dream kickoff meet in the Walt Disney Theater because it was the only place that would hold 500 people. So I was, of all the things on the cruise, this is one that I was somewhat nervous about for two reasons. I was less nervous when Becky said, okay, Walt Disney Theater, you're going to get up on stage. You got 2 hours, go. And I just stood there and I shook in uncontrollable fear. The thing that really got me nervous, though, was that prior to the cruise, one of the people had contacted their agent at Mouse Fan Travel and said that they wanted to get engaged on board. Great, she said. For some reason, they asked if I would be willing to take part in it. And so they asked me, and I said, sure, I would. I said, but are you sure that you want me to be involved in something that's so going to be like part of the rest of your life? And they said yes, and we decided we were going to do it during the Welcome Aboard thing. So I was nervous because I don't mind embarrassing and humiliating myself, but if I blew somebody's engagement, that would really that would have been a problem. That would have been something that would have stuck with me for a long time. Really what we did, though, was we welcomed everybody aboard. We explained everybody what the dream keys were, that they sort of represented opportunities to win prizes along the way. And then, Becky, we also revealed what the grand prize was. We had a lot of things. We had some limited edition inaugural merchandise. We had a lot of limited edition stuff. We had some prints that we bought. I was also able to get from some friends who are Disney artists who work for Disney some hand-drawn sketches that they made specifically for us and specifically for the cruise from people who actually created pins and merchandise and elements of the Disney dream. So it was great to have things from them that we were able to give away. One of the guys made this incredible drawing of Donald Duck on the Aqueduct, which almost didn't make it on board. I think it almost ended up in Becky's luggage. But Becky, the real big prize, beyond just the some of the other stuff we gave away, was the treasure chest. And again, because it was courtesy of MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, tell them what they won, Becky Mankin.
It was very cool. We did a 6-night stay at Walt Disney World with park hopper tickets and dining for up to 4 people. So it was a really nice little prize package for next year.
With dining.
This year or next year.
With dining.
I know, with food.
I don't even care about the park ticket. Just give me the ticket. Just give me the food. The free dining. So for you guys who were there on board with us and we were explaining what the dream keys were and stuff like that, was that stuff that you started getting excited about, and we started explaining some of the different ways that you were going to win sort of these random opportunities to throughout the cruise to play? I had written like 200 trivia questions, figuring I'd walk up to people and ask them trivia questions. Becky got mad at me because I was kind of just walking up and giving it people randomly in exchange for hugs and things like that.
Yeah, and they weren't always correct.
questions.
I did ask you questions, but Darlene, I asked you a question like, "What's your first name?"
No, wasn't it my screen name?
Right, you asked your screen name when I gave it away. So, but we also gave people the opportunity to participate in a scavenger hunt, a scavenger hunt that we had created, where you could have teams of up to 1 to 4 people. Some answers were found on board ship. Some were found on Castaway Key. I said to people I wrote so many questions that I didn't expect you to finish them all. Some people took that up as a challenge, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to finish. And that's all they did for 2 days was work on the scavenger hunt.
A badge of honor, that's for sure,
yeah,
for many
absolutely.
people.
Some people were, had a lot of fun with it. Some people were pretty hardcore. Scott Otis, I know you are a scavenger hunt guy. What did you think of the scavenger hunt?
I think you all did a great job with that. It was, I think 185 questions or something like that, 135 questions, half of which were, find this picture somewhere on the ship, and the other were questions that you would find somewhere on the ship. Yeah, I spent a good amount of time doing that, but it was a lot of fun for me because that's my kind of thing.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
He left. He didn't come back to the stateroom until like 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning.
There was one night, I did stay up till 5:30. Trying to fill out my schedule.
Wow. Did
after closing down Evolution, of course. Yeah.
I would say about the scavenger hunt that it really got you to notice the details more, and I really enjoyed that. But when I saw Tacey and James' paper that night, in the first night in Evolution, I said, forget this, I've quit.
Yeah, some people definitely took up the challenge when
They took it very seriously, that's for sure.
And I think it was more about just the enjoyment of doing it for them. It wasn't, we had 3 levels of prizes that included dream keys and varying degrees of onboard ship credit that were credited to your account. So if you wanted to buy merchandise, you wanted to buy drinks or whatever it might be, you were kind enough to donate a lot of different onboard credits for the scavenger hunt prizes. But it was a lot of fun for me watching people go around and having fun. And really, the point was to let people work together, have fun together, but also to explore the ship. And I think hopefully that the scavenger hunt certainly accomplished that. Something else that took place during the welcome aboard was we drew the winners for the Mouse Fan Travel Bingo. Becky, explain real quick what that is for people who don't know and sort of how you guys created that to give people a chance to start meeting each other early on.
Well, it's basically an icebreaker game where you have 12 squares and you have to find somebody who matches that square. For example, you have to find somebody who is an annual pass holder. So that makes you meet people that you may not know and ask them questions. Hey, are you an annual pass holder? Hey, are you or have you been on a cruise before? So it really kind of gets you talking about like experiences and gets you to meet friends on a kind of a fast pace. And it's always been very successful at many of the groups that we've done.
It's a lot of fun because you'll have things on there like, has cruised before, went to the D23 Expo, was at the Adventures by Disney or the Adventurers Club event. So you're being forced to walk around and meet people and talk to people, and you're right, it very much works as a great icebreaker. For those people who did win, again, they got Dream Keys, they got onboard credit, and I think this is where we gave away the Palo brunch, correct?
Yes.
You were able to arrange a brunch over at Palo, which is the add-on sort of dining experience, which which was awesome. And we had a couple of days later. We also did the judging of the flags. And what had happened was we had gotten so many flags submitted that first day that the night before, me and the lovely ladies from MEI and Mouse Fan Travel spent so many hours in Becky's tiny little stateroom judging, what do you say, Becky, maybe 50 flags?
At least. We had them all over the place.
Yeah, it was
them
crazy.
draped on furniture, on the floor, up on the walls. We had them everywhere.
Trying to narrow it down to a top 5 or top 10 was nearly impossible. However, in retrospect, I can tell you that at the Welcome Aboard at 687, a young man walked in with his flag, and I happened to be standing by where you turn in your flags for the judging. And at that point, I was ready to say, all right, everybody else, you might as well just, unless you bring in an audio animatronic figure on your flag, you might as well go home, because this 14-year-old kid took about 60 hours to do a double-sided flag where he had cut out in little foam squares this beautiful image of the Disney dream and created smoke, and there was lights that twinkled and music, and it played Steamboat Willie and the Disney dream horns, and it walked, it talked, it julienned your fries. And you can see that, I mean, he said later on he wanted to be an Imagineer, and you can see the work that he put into it. But we got the top 5 up on stage. They sort of told their story, and through voting from the people in the audience's applause, they judged the winners of the flag. The kid obviously won. That's where we gave away the second Apollo brunch and a bunch of other wonderful prizes as well. This is where things got interesting.
Yeah.
Oh boy!
I don't like any of you, by the way.
But I didn't do anything.
Here I was thinking. Look, I'm nervous because we sort of set up this thing that I was going to ask some trivia questions. We'd randomly select a person from a list, and we'd call them up, and I would ask them a really easy multiple-choice trivia question. We called the first 2 people up, and they won their tubes with the illustrations from the Disney artists. Well, the plan was to call up the unsuspecting fiancé-to-be up on stage and then somehow get her boyfriend up there so he can do what he was going to do.
Not a problem.
Not a problem. Not a problem at all. So we call her up. Now, I'm sweating. I'm sweating profusely, not just because I'm a sweater, but because...
It's the easy part.
I didn't know if we had the right girl. Was it her girlfriend? Was the guy, was he really on board with this whole... Because I didn't speak to anybody beforehand. So she comes up, and instead of me asking her a question like, what are the names of the other 2 Disney Cruise Line ships, I ask her to name all of Disney's 9 old men. And people in the audience are like, they're throwing tomatoes at me. They're like, you're a jerk. Why would you give her this question? So Becky and I sort of fall into our thing, and she says, she wanted to call up her girlfriend. We're like, oh, no, you got to call. We need a man up here. And she says, don't call up my boyfriend. He doesn't know anything. I says, oh. And so he's walking up the stairs, and I'm looking to him for sort of the visual cues, like, yeah, don't worry, man, I got this. And he took the mic and said to her, I have a question for you. That's when people started to ooh and ah. Did any of you guys see this coming? Did anybody see it coming?
No,
not at all. No.
Whenever he said he had a question, I was like, okay, maybe. That was for me.
Now, was that you or Scott Otis weeping uncontrollably in the audience?
That was, we were just going nuts.
I think that was me weeping.
We all.
The whole place just melted. It was amazing.
Awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
That was so
Absolutely.
great of you guys to help him do that. I mean,
Yeah.
that made, I think, their trip even more phenomenal. Because I know Angela, and she had no clue that was coming.
Yeah, I've got a picture of him down on one knee holding up
Me
the ring
too.
and her. Yeah, that was an awesome moment.
I saw pictures of that. Yeah, it's really sweet. I loved it.
So speaking of not knowing what's coming, I'm like, okay, this is awesome. I'm done. This is, that was the hard part. It went off without a hitch. The rest of the cruise is going to be smooth sailing from here. Do a couple of cleanup announcements, and then Becky grabs the mic, and it's all over from here. You guys.
The fun.
Yeah. Now the fun really begins.
And I got to tell you something, Lou. I will totally The engagement thing was very cool. Even though we hadn't talked to them, we relayed messages. You were stressed out about that one. That was a piece of cake. That was a piece of cake compared to keeping this huge secret from you and trying to undo all the things that you were trying to do to circumvent the thing that I was doing that you didn't know that I was doing. And that was the big stressor for me. So yes, did you see it coming at all?
I did not see it coming when you wouldn't let me leave 687, the Welcome Center, the day before to go pee-pee in the potty or get something to eat. I'm like, why can't I leave here? We're done. And then fighting with my wife, which I never do because we go to breakfast in the morning and it's like 8:15. And I'm like, well, come on, finish up. We got to go.
Okay, the backstory really quick on that one is because I spring out of bed at 7 o'clock in the morning and I realize, oh my gosh, I've told nobody to keep their eye on Lou. And for those of you who don't know, basically what we ended up doing was we had some audio visual that we had to set up in the theater, which required the assistance of the fine folks at Disney. So we had to get in there early, set up, run it really fast to make sure everything was going to work appropriately. So all I could see in my brain was Lou Mangello showing up in the middle of the dry run to spoil the surprise. So I spring out of bed. At 7:15, I pick up the phone. I'm calling Tony, and I'm going, Tony, seriously, have your wife call Lou's wife and tell her that she cannot let Lou out of her sight till 8:45.
Yeah, and then Charlene calls Deanna. I think she might have got Lou, actually, and then she gives the phone to Deanna. They make the plan. Deanna's going to keep an eye on Lou. He can't go anywhere till 8:30. Charlene hangs up the phone and turns to me. She goes, everything's taken care of. We're having breakfast with Deanna and Lou. I exploded in my room. Like, I have to get away. I have to get away from this guy. And you're making a reservation to sit down at breakfast with him. So, and then Deanna and Charlene told us we were overreacting and everything. But the adventure started right there. That was the start of it. At 7:15 in the morning, so it began.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
And I didn't see it coming. But speaking of arguing with my wife, again, something I never do, wondering why she's being so stubborn in the morning. I'm like, why? If it starts at 8:45, why can't I get there at 8:15? I got to prepare. I'm nervous about the whole engagement thing. Segueing into welcoming into the show my wife, saint-to-be Deanna Mangello.
Hi, everybody.
Hi,
Hello, Deanna.
And the person who
Partner
is
in
responsible for the mess that was about to happen right
It was a
after.
beautiful mess.
I feel so satisfied right now for some reason.
Do you want to explain what happened? We're just talking about the welcome aboard meet and how I was unsuspecting as to what was going to come next. Becky takes the mic and says that's not it. Go ahead and Becky, tell us what happened next.
Well, of course, this is all your wife. I would love to take a lot of responsibility for this, but the great idea was your wife. She came up with this wonderful thing several months ago and approached me and said, "Hey, do you think we can maybe roast Lou at the cruise?" Okay, so immediately part of my instincts is going, sure, and part of me is going, oh, this is such a bad idea, all at the same time, because I knew that there was going to be something to pay later. But of course, I knew we built in an extra half hour, and I just stopped after, and I looked at you, Lou, and I put my arm around you because I knew I didn't want you to run, and I said, that's not the only surprise we have on the stage today. And of course, we started with your brother, who took the stage to tell a wonderful story or two about you and to let your listeners in on some of the wonderful aspects of your childhood, which we found very entertaining.
I looked at him. I gave him the googly eyes. I'm like, dude, you make me cry sitting on the stage. I will shave your eyebrows in your sleep.
Which, remember, I have been at many family parties with his brother speaking. So I knew that his brother was going to come up with something so appropriate for this without embarrassing him too much.
Yeah, that'll come later. There's plenty of time for the embarrassment. Don't worry.
Exactly.
Love those shorts. Okay, yeah, there's more about that later. But of course, a lot of people thought when this whole thing went down that I had finally found Olga.
Yes.
And I
Oh,
think
yes, she
so many.
did.
Well, you never know, Tammy. You never know. Maybe just on a cruise wasn't the most appropriate spot. But
I'm
anyway,
sweating again, just so you know.
so Deanna, why don't you talk about how you took it from there?
Well, I had so many ideas that I didn't know what to do, where to start first. So I have no PowerPoint skills whatsoever. And who is one of the best PowerPointers in the nation happens to
Tell
be
me,
the wonderful,
Deanna, tell me who.
the
Tell me
wonderful,
who.
the only Tony Caggiano. Okay. So I thought to myself, my God, my husband always says to me, if the machine is not over $2 million, my wife can totally not work it. So I said,
You're
but,
an MRI. Just so you know, she's an MRI technologist.
Yeah.
That's not that we have $2 million machines in
our house, exactly. So I contacted Tony, and I said, listen, I had spoken to Becky, and I said, listen, what do you think about roasting Lou on the cruise? And Tony's like, oh my God, that's the best idea ever. And I knew that he would do funny heads on funny bodies. And so I said to him, listen, what about if I send you a bunch of pictures of Lou growing up? Tony was like, as many as you can send them all. So that's where that ended up going. And I felt out of all people that couldn't come, that should have been part of this was Glenn Whalen.
Absolutely.
And so Tony had an idea of contacting with him, and I said, what should we do with Glenn? And he's like, well, let me talk to Glenn. He's like, and we'll come up with something. Well, that was totally Glenn. He took the ball and ran with it. And I couldn't thank him enough, but he is such a big part of our family that I felt that it was so appropriate that he be a part of the whole experience being there. So he did an absolutely fabulous job, I feel, too. Of course you did too, Tony. So
Well,
that was incredible. All of you did such a fabulous job. So I'd like to ask the people who are in the audience, did you guys see this coming? And out of, when this happened in front of you, what were you guys thinking? And of course, what was your favorite picture?
Okay, wait a minute. Wait. Time out for a second. Let me go back. Because I got to tell you, when my brother got up, I was like, okay, I know my brother will, he'll do a great job. He won't embarrass me too much. I will tell you, I got a little bit nervous when Deanna got up and started to speak, and you had notes.
I had notes.
Which scared the bejesus out of me. And then I was like, okay, I've gotten through this pretty much unscathed. I don't think Olga's going to come out. But then when Tony got up and he had a clicker in his hand, that's when panic set in. That's when the fear of God really, really hit me as to what was going on, that the roast of Lou was on.
Meanwhile, the pictures were like 75 times life size, like I would ever think. They were so big on that screen. It was like the best thing ever.
Well, if I could say something quick. When we went down, Becky and I went down for the tech meeting that morning, she was, just now she said she wishes she could take blame for it, so to speak. Uh-oh. When the curtain raised and I put the first photograph up there of Lou and I, I'm up in the AV booth, way above everybody, and it's just Becky down there. She looks at the screen and she turned around and she looked like she was going to get physically ill. This is not my fault. She's yelling. Sure, he knows I didn't do this. She's yelling. I couldn't. When I saw the size of that screen, ask Becky, I started giggling like I was a little schoolgirl.
It was like an IMAX theater in there.
It was unbelievable. When the screen, when the curtain went up, Becky and I looked at each other, and she just put her head in her hands, like this is going to be so bad.
His Italian shorts looked like pants.
Exactly.
Well, it was crisp and clear.
Tony, why don't you go ahead and briefly, Reader's Digest condensed version, tell us a little bit about your really wonderful PowerPoint presentation.
Really? Yeah. So when I was first called up, as I walked up to begin with, I had my little wave phone holder on, and I didn't have my wave phone. I actually had the clicker for the PowerPoint presentation. I walked up, And I could see the look on Lou's face was kind of anybody but Caggiano when they announced somebody wanted to come on stage. But as I walked up, Lou's eyes went right to the clicker. His eyes got real big, and you got pale in the face, Lou. And that was when I just that's when I knew. I didn't have to even say anything. I knew I had you at hello, Lou.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly. You don't have to say anything.
but it was, it was just Lou and Tony, a Disney bromance. And I just wanted to profess my love, tell everybody how that went. And it was just a lot of fun to put together the photos and see the photos of you as a kid. And those were actually the photo of your head with the little boy. That's actually me sitting on the street, on Main Street, when I was probably about 3.5 years old. So, and I put your head on my brother's body. So, that was awesome.
Well, I will tell you that the only thing going through my mind at a certain point when a couple of those pictures started flashing up on screen was I thanked God for the fact that we were at sea and that nobody had their phones and nobody could tweet. And I'm like, okay, by the time we get back, everybody's going to forget about all these pictures and nobody will mention the Italian boy shorts.
And I'm sure I'm sure it was posted as soon
That didn't
as we got
happen,
back.
right?
Yeah.
when Deanna sent me the photos and I opened it and I saw that photo, I laughed out loud. Not like LOL like everybody texts you for the.
You know why? Because you probably had the same pair. Who you kidding?
I tried to find a pair of Z Cavaricis with size waist, but yeah, they're tough to come by. I guess you just don't get full-figured Guidos anymore. I couldn't find a pair of. I wanted to show up in full Guido garb for the show, but I wasn't able to.
I have a feeling those are going to show up on a T-shirt somewhere. That picture. I swear.
I remain dubious.
That's next year, Becky. That's next year.
There we go.
I was touched and I was humbled by the fact that my brother and Deanna and Tony had taken the time to put this together and worked with Becky doing it. Certainly didn't expect Tony to tell me to go and sit in the front row and see a video from Glenn Whalen. I will tell you that when I came back, I think the words "post the roast" was trending on Twitter because I got that request so many times. I do not have the roast, but I do understand that it has been videotaped. And if Tony and Glenn want to share what they have, I'm sure we could make it available to the online listeners.
And I have to tell you, regarding Glenn's video, he worked really hard on that. We went out several, like 3 or 4 weekends out to the Disney parks filming that thing. I actually played the part of 1984 Cheryl Teague, and it was hilarious. I mean, that guy is sharp as a whip. He's such a smart guy, and
yeah,
it was absolutely hilarious. And
well, I got to tell you, Lou. Go ahead. I was just gonna say I got to tell you, Lou, that because we had so little amount of time, I saw that first run of what Glenn had put together, and it was pretty long. It was a 9-minute thing, and I laughed so hard. I went, he can't cut this. He can't cut this down. He can't edit it. It has to go exactly as it's going. So yeah, it was all gold. So you're lucky, Lou, that I kind of dropped all the wonderful, loving things that I was going to say about you. I'll have to save it for another time.
I never had the time, I'm sorry, to say thank you so much for, I know you put a lot of time and a lot of effort into that as 1974 Cheryl Teagues. And I really...
It really was all Glenn, I assure you. I was there. I helped to videotape it, but I could tell you it was all Glenn.
Well, when Glenn sent me the link to the video, he sent it to me like 11 o'clock at night, or 10 o'clock at night, and I called him up, and we were talking for a half hour about it. And then I think it was probably a few days later, Lou was working at the restaurant. So Lou posted that he was at the restaurant. So all of a sudden, my phone goes off, and it's Becky on the line saying, Lou's at the restaurant. She saw his tweet. So we got to get Deanna, and the three of us have to discuss what's happening. I called Deanna, and Deanna, you were having dinner at the restaurant with Lou, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
She picks up the phone and was like, I'm with Lou. Hangs up the phone.
Nice.
I didn't even know. So we finally get together and we talk. And the only thing I could tell Deanna and Becky at that point was, I was like, I saw Glenn's video. I have to redo my entire presentation. Didn't I say that? I honestly said I have a lot more work to do.
You sure did. You sure did.
Away. I mean, and then Deanna and I watched it I think we watched it, what was it, about midnight we put it on? It was like simulcast. We both pressed play on our laptops and we watched it together. And I literally woke the children up. We were laughing so loud together.
We were laughing so hard.
I don't know how you guys kept it from me. I can tell you, I never saw it coming. I had no idea.
You had too many other things on your plate.
I did, but I am.
Just wait to see what we have in tail for you for the next one.
Shh, Deanna, quiet. Shh.
I did like.
I want to just do a quick shout out to Chris Iliopoulos, who did the one thing that I could have contributed to it, and you had 2 eyebrows on it. He did a sketch for us that was us on the aqueduct and you flying off the side of the ship, and I just wanted to say shout out to him because that was a really cool sketch that he did. So I hope you enjoyed that as well. It's probably going to show up on a T-shirt somewhere down the line.
And I'll be sure, and I'll post it in the show notes too. I'm going to put a link to a lot of stuff in the show notes this week, including Chris's awesome drawing. So
yeah, do you realize we're still on day 1? Just saying.
It's day 2. We're on day 2. All right, so let's move on. Let's move past the roast.
Wait, I have one more quick thing. The reactions of everybody in the audience were hilarious. I was sitting right next to Mojo, and she was laughing hysterically. It was so funny to watch everybody laugh hysterically at this video. Even my dad was like, he had tears in his eyes. It was so funny. I did too. So I just wanted to say that really quickly.
You know that the laughter was at my expense and hurt me deeply, but that's okay.
Awesome. Mission accomplished.
It was awesome. It was you know, I'm very much able to laugh at myself, so it meant a lot to me that you guys took the time to do that and share it with 500 of our friends. Anyway, moving on. It was day 2. It was Nassau Day. Let me ask you guys this. I know a lot of people didn't get off the ship in Nassau. It really is a great day to sort of take the time and explore the Disney dream. Any of you guys, did you get off in Nassau at all?
We did not.
Nobody. Okay, yeah, so that seemed to be a trend for a lot of people. I think, especially if you have young kids, unless you go over to Atlantis or something like that, there's shopping and there's touring, things like that. But was the idea, Darlene, to stay on board and just sort of take the time and explore the ship? And if so, what did you do?
Yes, that was my main goal. Was it was only a 5-day tour, and I wanted to get in as much of the ship as possible. And with being a first-time cruiser, I wanted to be able to take everything in slowly. So that's what we decided to do. We had a really nice breakfast, and then we started walking around all the decks and checking out all the pictures and all the animated art and seeing how they put it all together. It's just amazing how each floor had something different. And the collection of pictures they have of Walt Disney himself is just amazing. And then we checked out the stores. We checked out, of course, the food areas. We found a nice spot on the deck for my husband to sit out of the sun, and I went and found my spot in the line for the aqueduct.
I was going to say, the aqueduct, that was sort of a big day for a lot of people to ride. We actually had a sort of an aqueduct ride-a-thon after a pin and vinylmation meet on Deck 11. Again, we tried to make something for everybody, so if you were a trader, if you wanted to, go out and do things as a group, we had a lot of those things available as well. Nolan, you and I shared a lot of magical moments. Not only did I buy you your first shot ever not first shot ever in Evolution, but just your first shot ever. But you and I swore to you months ago that if I had to carry you up the stairs, you and I were going to ride the aqueduct together. We did. Tell me what your impression of the aqueduct was after seeing all the videos and hearing all the hype about it for so long.
And riding it with Blue Mangello, too.
Yeah, well,
yes.
The videos don't do it justice. They really don't. I was able to make it up the stairs okay because it was a slow enough line. That was the good thing. But once you got up there, it's just like, I'm actually doing this. And then, of course, you sat in the back and I was in the front, and it was a little odd having Lou Mangello's legs wrapped around my neck. And you go out and you hit the loop, and I'm looking out and I'm looking down, and I laughed the entire way, and you could attest to this. I laughed the entire way. It was just pure fun, and just it went by a little too fast, just for my head, But being in there was just looking around and just seeing everything, and it's just one of those experiences you have to have. And that's what I want to tell everybody that hasn't been. They're going to go on the next cruise. Do the aqueduct and do it multiple times because it is just a phenomenal experience. But yeah, and having Lou there was just icing on the cake, of course, because he's laughing, I'm laughing. We're just giddy and floating down through the aqueduct, and it was just a blast. And it's one of those great memories that I will never ever lose. And I'm very happy that I got that memory.
Well, and that was part of the fun, is being able to ride tandem, offers such a different experience than going solo. You and I got to ride together. I know Mary Jo and my wife got to ride together. Tony Caggiano, did you also have a riding companion?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be blessed by the presence of Scott Otis on my ride. And I get up there and they put us on that little conveyor belt before they shoot you into the tube. So, I'm waving my arms and I get everybody up there yelling and cheering for us. And as we shoot down the tube, I could hear some little girl out there screaming. And we get to the first water jet, and that little girl is still screaming in the tunnel with me. And yeah, it was Scott. It was 6 octaves higher than any grown man should be able to make a sound. But we had a blast. And then as we're coming through the final turn, I'm like, we start going back and forth. We get it up on the wall, and I hope the video came out good because as we came out, it was like a bad wreck at Daytona. We were on our heads and the tubes in the air, and Jamie's videotaping, and he's like, "This is great video." He's waving his arms. It was a blast. We landed on our faces at the end, but we had a good time. We laughed. We honestly laughed the whole entire way down.
And that seems to be the reaction of everybody that rode. Mary Jo and Deanna, you guys rode together. The pictures I have for you guys, you guys are all teeth and all smiles.
It was just so much fun.
It was the greatest because fortunately enough, that was my first ride. Was with you, of course. My favorite running buddy was with you. So we just had a blast, and you know me, I yell all the time. So, and
we screamed and laughed and screamed and laughed, and it just goes by so fast. And someone asked me when I got home, what was it like looking out at the ocean? I'm like, I didn't even look that way. Right. I was the whole time trying to wave at people down at the pool, and so excited to be up there for. What is it, like 4 stories high above the deck, and it's so fun.
Yeah, when Charlene came off from riding with Deanna, she was laughing till she cried. She was crying. And I said, what? And she said she had the best time in the world, and that Deanna literally screamed the whole entire
whole time. I know.
Charlene was beside herself laughing. She said,
I think that if Deanna and Scott Otis rode together, they would break the aqueduct, shatter it like a Memorex tape.
What I do have to say, too, about the aqueduct is that when we got on the ship for the media cruise, the height requirement was 48 inches. And my kids were so disappointed because neither one of them could get on. So, we made the best of it, and there was the Mickey slide, and Nicholas just loves that, and so did Marion. But Marion was like, I really want to get on that with you, Mom. And I said, well, Marion, don't worry. I said, you know what, you'll be tall enough soon enough. Well, when we got on the ship the second time, they lowered the height requirement to 42 inches with an adult. And they gave the kids these arm wristbands so they could just keep riding and riding. It was like you gave my children like the best Christmas present ever. Marion and Steve Drew went on the aqueduct like 7 or 8 times in a row, and they just had a blast. It was just the cutest thing in the world. And she didn't want to go on with anyone else. Her and Steve, and they would get up there and they would yell like all these hysterical phrases before they would go down, like, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya.
One time.
So who was the pineapple and who was the coconut in that scenario?
Marion was the coconut and Steve was the pineapple, if I do recall.
Okay. Just to make sure I understand.
I actually didn't get a chance to participate in the Aqueduct Ride-a-thon, and Becky was able to find an excuse for not riding as well because at this point, the door decorating contest entry deadline had come, and we needed to start walking every deck back and forth to judge. I mean, Becky, how many doors total were there that we ended up having to judge? And I mean, thousands. There were thousands.
Thousands. Okay, I'll go with that. That works.
I will tell you, after walking back and forth, it's a really big ship.
He hasn't ran the full marathon yet either, folks, and I don't think I see it in his future.
I did, and it just took a couple of hours on the decks of the Disney Dream. But Becky, the cool thing about that was seeing the creativity and the enthusiasm of so many different people, and you can see that they did it either individually or as couples or as complete families, putting together some really well thought out, very well themed, very creative doors.
It was a hard judging process. There was so many great ideas, and I was actually amazed with all the stuff that was put on the doors that people could actually open their doors to get in and out of their stateroom. There was so much stuff. It was so cool.
Yeah,
I believe Mark Lorenzo had like magnets on the front and the back side of his door. He had so many.
Some people had it on the ceiling.
On the ceiling,
Some people
yeah.
had it on the ceiling on the top of their door.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think he said he had problems with security, getting through security at the airport because of the magnets.
I'm sure.
Yeah, we did. We did too.
I did not. I did not.
So, Darlene, did you have a lot of magnets, or did you have just a few and then just put a bunch of stuff on your door?
We had all the magnets already on all of our pictures and everything, so I was all set, and I put mine right in a manila envelope, and I had it right in my carry-on. They didn't question me at all, but I was like, and we were kind of surprised because Keith actually brought another roll of magnet tape because we had heard that they slide off the door, and that didn't happen either, so the stuff that we bought was awesome. And sorry if I, when I opened up the door on you guys, I was like, oops.
As we were judging some doors, some people like Darlene heard us sort of milling around outside the door and opened it up.
Oh, no, I was going to iron a shirt. And I was just like, Lou, Becky, what are you guys doing here?
We're stalking you, of course. Mary Jo, you now, and we sort of will reveal at the end, we were not able to pick a winner. After literally hours of looking at doors and trying to decide, the judging committee was unable to pick a winner. So we picked multiple winners, and one of them was Mary Jo. Mary Jo, do me a favor. Describe briefly, so we don't make it a 6-hour show, although we're halfway there. What sort of when you heard about the door decorating contest, what your thought was as far as concept or theme and what your door ended up looking like?
Well, my concept originally, I started thinking about what the Disney dream was all about and how I'm kind of living a Disney dream constantly. And that's kind of where it all started. So I basically made a collage of all my Disney dreams, of all the Disney dreams that I've ever had. And the title of my door was The Collins Family Presents Living Our Disney Dream. And it was just merely about 600 one-inch squares of memories, and those included pictures, brochures, maps, fast passes, just all kinds of stuff that I collected over the years. And I even had some Tony Caggiano-style pictures included. And I had like a little hidden Mickey treasure hunt where you had to find the hidden Aaron Burke and the hidden Steve Drew and the hidden Jeremy Marks and even a Johnny Depp on there. So the real Johnny
Tony
Depp.
Caggiano.
Yeah. So just, memories from the very first time I ever went to Walt Disney World to the times my children went, even when Andy went to Disney World and Andy went on the Disney cruise. So everything that we've ever experienced that related to Disney and what it meant to us.
I have to tell you, we were very impressed by what we were. The toughest part was the fact that we were impressed, Becky, by so many doors. Trying to narrow it down was nearly impossible.
It was impossible, not even nearly impossible. We stood out front of Mary Jo's door for 20 minutes, just kind of looking through everything and taking it all in. And the amount of work and creativity that went behind so many of these doors, there was just no way we could pick a winner. There was just no way.
Yeah, so
they were really good, all of them.
Yeah, and so, like, Tammy, did you find yourself sort of walking around looking at some of the other doors too, sort of not as a judge, but just sort of wanting to see what other people did? Sort of, it was something else to look at, like its own little bit of enchanted art.
Yeah, I did walk around. I did walk around like on the other end in the front of the ship. So I got to see a lot of doors. I got to see a lot of Tiggers, a lot of Pooh, just like little magnets on the doors, and they all looked wonderful. And it was awesome to also participate in the contest too, because our door was so tough to make. We did the Monsters Inc. door, we did Boo's door, and we actually had the physical light on top of the door, and it's only supposed to last 24 hours, and it lasted the entire cruise from start to finish. And the battery went dead when we were about to leave.
Well, and that's the thing, like, people were making their doors. Some people, it was more about their personal memories. Some, it was about WDW radio. Some people, it was just about different creativity. One person designed their door to look like an iPhone. They made magnets to look like apps.
That was so cool.
And
that was
the time was 2:27 for February 27th, and the percentage of the battery was 98% for when the Disney Cruise Line launched. I mean, super, super creative. Other people had games on there. They had whiteboards. They had different sort of interactive stuff that you can do. And that's what made it a lot of fun for us to judge. And I can tell for the people that did it, a lot of fun for them as well. Moving on quickly through the rest of the day, we're going to talk about dining a little bit later on, sort of just as a general overview of what you guys felt for dining. There was another show that night. Does anybody remember? I don't recall. I don't have the navigator. What show was
Golden Mickey
tonight? The villain.
Oh, we already discussed Golden Mickey. Yeah, it was Villains Tonight. Sorry.
So the second night was the villain show. And then again later on in the evening, this is when things in the district really started to pick up. This is when it was really like 150 red lanyards and like one other guy. And so details of the stories from the district and evolution that night are really immaterial at this point, probably because they'll embarrass me once again. Suffice it to say, this was the first of 3 nights in a row that not only did we close Evolution, and we being sort of the WW Radio group, but it was so to the point that we were there an hour later and they were literally vacuuming around our feet. But I know...
we were there till 3 a.m. each night.
Yeah. But the next day was one of the days a lot of us, I think, were looking forward to, because people especially don't get off in Nassau. The day at Castaway Cay is something that people really look forward to get out on Disney's private island, enjoy the beach. We had a bunch of different meets planned throughout the day. We had a sort of a group meet over at Pelican Plunge, which is the new sort of water slide that's there. We had a snorkel dive, an ice cream meet. But the thing that I will always remember, and the thing that was just so cool, was in the morning we had pretty much almost everybody gather on the beach in front of the Disney Dream for a group photo. And to see so many people out there in their cruise T-shirts and their red lanyards, and the guys from Disney getting up on the cherry picker so they can get us and the Disney Dream in the background was just awesome. And that was one of the few pictures I purchased from Shutters because I wanted to make sure that I had that and could take that with me. And I just thought that was awesome.
Yeah, it was just fun to be a part of that, getting everybody on the beach. It was fun. We got out there. Everyone was so excited for the Castaway Cay morning that everybody was excited about the photo, and just walking around for a few minutes before the actual photo and talking to people who now everybody had kind of broke the ice and knew each other a little bit, had a little story to tell. And it was a lot of fun being part of that too.
Darlene, what'd you think of Castaway Cay?
Oh, I didn't picture it as big as it actually was. I was thinking like a small little island, because everybody always says Disney has a small little island. Well, it's actually huge. I thought it was beautiful. The greenery, the sands were clean. The water was beautifully blue. They had everything. If you couldn't find anything to do, that was basically your own fault. They had bike riding, they had snorkeling, they had water bikes, they had parasailing, the Pelican Plunge. They had tons of food. Ice cream was delicious. And so many lounge chairs. We didn't have a problem finding a lounge chair. Everybody said you had to go and search for a lounge chair. We found lounge chairs, no problem.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Castaway Key, you're right, is that you can do as much or as little as you want. I got to tell you that one of the the cruise was very hectic. There was a lot of running around. Becky can certainly attest. She's still recovering from just how exhausting the cruise was. But I have to tell you that one of the things that I enjoyed the most was sort of our snorkel dive. A small group of us had gotten together, rented snorkeling equipment, and went out to the beach to do a snorkel dive. And what Disney does is they have a number of buoys set up sort of at different distances out where you can find little sunken remnants of boats and ships. There's a Mickey statue out there. There's a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea sub. And just sort of, going out there with a bunch of guys and standing on the 20,000 Leagues sub, sort of bring it back to sort of old school Walt Disney World. I know Tony and Scott, you guys were there. That for me was one of the things that was a highlight of the cruise for me. A simple thing like the snorkel meet.
Yeah, it was just a real special time. A bunch of us guys out there, just a bunch of friends, just snorkeling out there, joking around, and tons of fish. In the boats down there. It was quite amazing. What did you think, Tony?
Yeah, it was. Seeing the sub was a blast. Lou and I, luckily, it wasn't too far beneath the surface, but we had the neck vests on, and we blew some air in there to help you float. So at first, Lou and I are trying to dive down to see this, to look in the portholes, and we're struggling and we're fighting. And before we realize we have inflatable vests around our neck, we're so excited that we're fighting for 5 or 10 minutes to try to dive. So we let the air out, but it was just fun because we would go down, look in the porthole, look at each other, go up to the surface, and be like, "We could have rode this when we were kids." We're right back down 10 feet.
I'm sure we did.
Here, come up and Lou's like, "Isn't this awesome?" We go right back down to the bottom. We did that for 15 minutes, till we were completely out of breath, but. It was fun. That was probably one of the highlights of the entire cruise for me as well.
Yeah, it was for me until I realized how far shore really was on the way back, how far the Cookies 2 barbecue was, and me with my little legs trying to flap my little fins and get back was very difficult.
Yeah. We're kicking and you got your head down, you're breathing. All of a sudden I look up and Lou's got his head up. He goes, "I think we're in a riptide. We're being sucked out to sea.
Miles away.
They're moving. The shore is moving. We're caught in a riptide." It was just, and Jonathan Grant's screaming. He's flopping around there. It was. We laughed the whole way out and the whole way back.
Yeah.
Speaking about that Cookies restaurant, that had really good food, and they had free ice cream there again as well. So it was delicious. So.
I was surprised there was any food left because if anybody happened to watch the 24-hour live show, you may remember Steve Drew, who ate a kitchen sink by himself in 17 minutes.
Yeah.
I got online mistakenly behind him when he ordered 3 cheeseburgers, one of them being a double cheeseburger.
No, 4 cheeseburgers.
Oh.
Are you serious?
What was it again? He had 4 cheeseburgers. One of them was a double, 2 hot dogs, like a whole chicken, and like couscous.
One drink.
Couscous.
And a diet
Wow.
tan.
Right. A fresco.
By the time I had taken my second bite of my first hamburger, Steve Drew had finished 3 of his hamburgers. Wow.
My goodness.
Yeah.
I thought 2 trays was enough for me.
He's like my Yoda. I love him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to say he's more like a Jabba the Hutt, but I didn't want to. But the thing about Castaway Key was that it just seemed to go so fast. Castaway Key seemed to go so fast. We were there until, Becky, what time are you normally there? The boat, I think, departs at 5. They want you on board.
At 4?
4.
At like 4:30, 4:45,
Yeah,
5 o'clock
like
departure.
Yeah, that's why I like the Disney cruises that sort of are the double dip, the 5-day cruises that are 2 days at Castaway Key are my favorite because I don't get off in Nassau, and there's I sort of like that downtime, however you want to spend it on Castaway Key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like the tram rides. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I enjoyed hanging out with Lori and her husband and just kind of chilling out and watching our kids go over to the Pelican Plunge, which is like this platform that has these 2 awesome slides on it, and just watching them laugh and carry on and just swim back and forth. And then Kim Knight took me over to her private cabana, which was so cool, and I just happened to see that Becky had one as well. So I was like, oh, this is how the other side lives.
Well, wait, let me go back to your watching the kids meet. That was more, I think Tony described it as the Desperate Housewives cocktail meet.
Wait,
Yeah,
did
that was
anybody?
Housewives.
Yeah, did anybody see Tony and Lou go down this Pelican plunge slide? You guys came out and you made a big splash. It was so fun to watch. When we got out of the water, Lou gave us dream keys while we're in line, and they were soaking wet.
I didn't notice, really?
Yeah, well, obviously they're going to be soaking wet, but the paper was falling off. So when we handed it, I think it was Vicky, I'm not sure, but when we handed them in, she's like, "What are these?" And I'm like, "They're soaking wet dream keys that Lou Mangello gave us. Just ask him." And she's okay. So,
which I promptly redeemed for double the amount of dream keys later on in the day. But and that night there was the Jeff Savilico show. Again, we closed Evolution. But that's when it sort of started hitting people like, wait a minute, this cruise went by really fast, and tomorrow is the last day. Yeah. How did that happen so quickly? Darlene, did you?
Pirate Night.
Was that? I was gonna say, was that Pirate Night too?
That's Pirate Night.
Yes, that was Pirate Night.
Yeah, that was Pirate Night.
Obviously, there's pirate optional attire at dinner, and then there's also the different pirate parties that take place out on deck. The Pirate's Life for Me, the Pirates in the Caribbean show, and the Buccaneer Blast, and then Club Pirate, which is sort of the later night sort of dance party up on deck. I believe they're still the only one that has the fireworks at sea. And so one of the things that we were doing when we were putting the schedule together was, having cruised before, we were cognizant of the fact that there's a lot of things that go on the ship that, either on the schedule or aren't on the schedule that we didn't want to conflict with. And we said so many times early on that we didn't want to schedule too much because we didn't want to take away from your ability to have your time on your own, have your time exploring the ship and doing things like the Pirates in the Caribbean meets and sort of the other stuff that was going on throughout the day and the evening. I mean, because there was always something happening from 7 o'clock in the morning until, as we show, 3 o'clock at night. Nolan, did you kind of feel that there was a sort of a good striking of the balance between group events and your ability to do stuff that Disney had on its own schedule?
Oh, yeah. No, it was a good balance because I felt like we were given an opportunity to be able to get together and find each other throughout the day and do things together, as far as the group stuff goes. But we still had enough freedom to where we could look and say, I want to go check out this show. I want to go check out this show. I remember going to the Anyone Can Cook session one day, doing that, and that was a lot of fun. That was something I really enjoyed. We had the ravioli. The lobster ravioli, so good. But and it was a good mix because you could always find somebody to do some of the stuff that's just for the ship, or you could do it on your own, of course. But it really was a great mix of togetherness, but separate and do your own thing, wander, have fun. So I enjoyed it. I really did.
Yeah, a couple of people have said they had gone to the whiskey tasting, and the only people in there were WDW radio cruisers. So,
I missed that. I had a
Surprise,
rum
surprise.
tasting. You know who would have been there if it was a rum tasting?
I was at the Anyone Can Eat meet. I wasn't at the Anyone Can Cook meet. So, but yeah, the day 4 came upon us very, very quickly, and it was funny because I kind of got the sense that people were all of a sudden trying to cram and do as much as they possibly could. I had scheduled a 9:30 meet, sort of it was a throwaway thing, I thought, over at the Cove Cafe to grab a cup of coffee. That was one of the most popular meets, I think, because people wanted to sort of continue that sense of community and get as much stuff in and certainly get the coffee and free answers to the scavenger hunt as well.
Wow.
I know, Becky. I know it pains you as I was walking around giving away dream keys like they were going out of style.
Yeah. That poor guy that got stuck in the middle of that. Oh, I don't know if anybody else saw him. He was sitting there in the lounge chair asleep, and we just surrounded him. And he finally wakes up and looks around going, what the heck is going on? And he finally just got up and left. Because everybody was over there surrounding him. He didn't know what happened. It was hilarious watching that.
Yeah, the thing I like about the at sea day was people were starting to wind down. A lot of people spent a lot of time up on deck, so you were finding and getting a chance to talk and meet a lot of people either by the pool or by the aqueduct or by some of the other meets that we had on throughout the day. I know, Becky, you guys were still doing stateroom tours that day. That turned out to be one of the more popular things. They had a chance to tour pretty much most of the different categories, including, and this is where we really let a little golf clap for Becky for taking one for the team. They were able to tour your suite in the Roy Disney suite as well.
Gorgeous.
Yay.
Beautiful suite.
Yeah, we'll have a pity party for you there next time.
Where's the
I need to
lottery?
win the lottery.
I mean, come on, somebody had to take the bullet. Really?
I think anybody on this call would have taken that bullet for you, just so you know.
I appreciate that you did it, Becky.
It was
Yes.
great to be able to share. I mean, not just, there were several people, including Lou Mangello, giving up his one-bedroom suite to show people the different types of staterooms that were on board, so that those who didn't book an inside with the virtual porthole actually got the ability to see it. And then, of course, being able to share the suites and to show off the Roy suite was really, really fun. It was great to be able to, especially with so many people on board, to be able to open it up. So, kudos to those who gave up their staterooms to show it off to others. I thought that was really cool.
If I could say one thing, Becky, when you were doing, I think it might have been earlier in the trip, though, you were using Lou's room for the tour, and Lou and I are way up on the top, and his wave phone went off. We're about to get on the aqueduct, and you needed his room key, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Lou goes sliding down. I come down with Scott. We get off. There's Becky, all dressed up. She's ready to do her stateroom tour. She has her nice MEI shirt on, a pair of khakis. Here comes Lou straight off the aqueduct and just tackles Becky, soaking wet, gives her a big hug, picks her up off the ground, and she's like, really? She's dripping from head to toe. And he goes,
toe.
My room key. He laughed so hard. That was awesome.
God love you.
You know what? It only gets better later on in the evening. Really.
Yeah, I know. Keep going, Mangello. Seriously.
Yeah, well, and listen, I know that we're starting to skip over a lot of stuff, and there was a lot of other meets and events and stories and things like that happened. We did have a farewell party.
On video on a droid. Just saying. Move on.
I know. I'm moving forward. We did want to sort of thank everybody and say goodbye. And Becky was generous enough to help throw the farewell party that we had, appropriately enough, in Evolution on the last day. And I think a lot of people were surprised when they came in. It wasn't just sort of an empty venue. There was a free wine and beer and soda for everybody. There was a big buffet set up right in the middle of the dance floor. Again, that's where, Becky, we were giving out the prizes for the door decoration contest. We also had the drawings for some other prizes as well. We had a lot of other things sort of in the prize closet. Some physical things, some experiential things. I think we gave away a dinner in Walt Disney World with you and I somewhere one night. I think we might be going to Victoria and Albert's, if I remember correctly.
We're going to try. We are going to try.
That is such a win-win for me all around. We also gave away, I gave away a couple of tours, and then at the end, we saved the best for last. We had the drawing to see if someone's key unlocked the treasure chest, and the treasure chest was for the week-long stay in Walt Disney World with tickets and dining and everything else like that. And Becky, I know for you and I think for everybody else who was there, as surprising as the engagement was, as surprising as the roast was, I think the most surprising and one of the most, look, to make me speechless is very difficult, but one of the moments that made me speechless and a lot of other people speechless for on the ship happened here, because we drew the winner. We drew a winner. His name was Mike. And he came up and he said, you know what? He goes, I knew it. I knew I was going to win. I said it while we were online waiting that we were definitely going to win. And that was not the surprising part.
No. And it totally blew me away. Speechless, and tears and just the sheer generosity from this man was incredible. He stood up and, first of all, he was very proud of the fact that he had walked around and told people that he was going to win. The entire day, I do believe, is what he was saying. But when he came back up on stage after accepting the award, and he said, wait, I would really love to donate this prize to the Dream Team for Make-A-Wish.
And we just stared at each other.
Yeah, they were dumbstruck. Yeah, well, saw you guys back.
I still am. I mean, for somebody to be that incredibly generous, I didn't know how to respond, and it was amazing. And just the heart of that man really, 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 really touched me. It was great.
I didn't know what to do. I'm like, well, what can I give the guy? I'm like, you want an audio guide? I'm like, I can't give the guy an audio. And we talked to him, and we're going to do something special for and with Mike and his traveling companion at some other point in Walt Disney World, because she too, said, yeah, this is what we wanted to do if we were going to win it. So that's a testament to the type of people that were on this cruise and the type of community that was here on it. Real quick, just sort of finishing out the rest of that night and the evening. Again, there was a dinner and the show. That was Disney's Believe. I think for a lot of people, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, was Disney's Believe your favorite of the shows that you saw?
Absolutely.
If you were a guy that had a daughter, you would have been weeping like Scott Otis on the aqueduct, let me tell you. You'd weep like Scott Otis at a fondue party.
I don't like fondue, though. I would weep at sea.
Yeah, as a dad, that Believe really touched me as a father, though.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Oh, it did. It was just, thinking about it right now, it kind of gets me a little bit teary. And, there were parts with the Golden Mickeys that really got me as well. I mean, when the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs came up, I don't want to give anything away, but, that kind of, touched me as well. They get a lot of the people out in the audience involved with the show, with the Golden Mickeys, and that is really, really awesome. But Believe, if you have children, it tears you up.
It does.
And I think, too, I know when I saw Believe on the christening cruise, I assume it was the same person, the actor who played the genie, and again, not giving too much away, but the actor who played the genie was phenomenal. It was not only an emotional show as far as, tearing at your heartstrings, but it was really funny and very, very well done. And look, you forget that theater is on a ship at sea. It is like being at a Broadway style thing. Because the stage is so big and so elaborate. Later on in the evening, we were able to, it was a Wednesday night and the show must go on. So I wanted to do a newscast live from onboard ship. Wanted to bring the box people on to be part of the experience. It was less about the news because I was so far removed from what was going on in real life, but we were able to connect the box people, allow them to tour Becky's stateroom, watch me lock her outside of her stateroom for 5-10 minutes, and then go out on deck and talk to some of the people out on deck 11 as well.
Did you do that on purpose, Lou?
Absolutely.
Okay. I did not see the video yet. I want to see this.
Welcome to my world. It's it's like having, I'm an only child, but now I know exactly what it's like to have a bratty younger brother.
I think there's an insult in there somewhere.
Wait a minute. The amazing thing was that you're standing there, we're talking, we're showing off this wonderful deck in this suite. You turn around, you lock the door, and then you sit down at my table while I'm outside in the wind. And you're sitting down at my table talking to everybody just calmly and just kind of made yourself at home. It
was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Paybacks, Mangello, paybacks.
Yeah, and again, we, many of us closed Evolution. We didn't want it to end, and unfortunately, it did the next morning. And like I said, it went too fast. However, and this is something that we mentioned during the Welcome Aboard meet that we had, was for a variety of reasons, one of which is because Disney offers some really great incentives to rebook future cruises while you're on board. We decided kind of that day, really, Becky and I sort of talked about it, and judging by how well that first day had already gone, how excited people were, that we wanted to do it again. And so we decided, and we announced on the cruise, and to the people in the box that we are going to be doing it again. We are going to do this again in fall 2012, once again on the Disney Dream. And I know Becky's not allowing me to say anything more about possible dates because Disney has not released them as yet.
Oh, dang. I want to know.
Do it.
We are choosing a date that will hopefully be most conducive to the most amount of people, both time-wise and financial-wise.
End of August.
And if you guys just send me a direct message, I'll give you the exact date. I'm kidding. I can't. Well, because we don't know, because Disney hasn't released them. Disney hasn't released them as yet.
Honestly, not only have they not released the dates yet, we don't know what the itineraries are for the Dream yet. We don't know what they're going to do with it, so we need to wait and balance it out and see what they're going to make available so we can find the best date, the best itinerary, the best price for the group. But I will say that it's a huge testament because we did have over 80% of cruisers went for the save the date booking. So we might have another huge cruise.
Yeah, we're really excited about the next cruise. We can't wait.
And kudos to my team for handling all of those inquiries and all the questions and of course everything that went on during the cruise, because it was their support and their hard work to make sure that you guys were all taken care of. And Lou, you and I ran those decks once to check out those door decorations. They did it every single day to deliver things to the fish extenders. So hats off.
Yeah, you guys again. One of the surprises that people didn't know about was that you guys supplied everybody with fish extenders. For those who don't know, you have a fish that has your stateroom number on it. There's sort of a hanging fabric 2 pouches that MEI gave to everybody and allowed them to put little surprises or notes in your door every single day. It could have been something pirate themed. It could have been a message. It could have been whatever it might be. Other people were also able to leave things, little presents for other people on their deck or their friends, as it might be. But yeah, I was going to save this to the end, but I have to tell you honestly, Becky, your team, I said this many times on the cruise, and I can't stress enough, they completely crushed from beginning to end, from making sure that all the arrangements for people before they got on board worked, and then once they got on board, making sure everything went smoothly. I would try and mention them all by name, but I know that I would forget. But your team did an outstanding job. It is a testament to you and Mouse Fan Travel, and it's because of them that things went as smoothly as they did. So I want to extend my personal thanks to each of them individually.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate that. I will tell you one thing that we enjoyed so much was being with all of you, because we had an opportunity that's pretty rare for us. We don't get that opportunity to travel with our clients, and to be able to meet everybody in person and to have fun and to shut down evolution and to be there if there's issues. It was wonderful for us. So thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, and what happened with this recap is exactly what I had expected to, which was we wanted to talk about so many different things that were going on that we didn't get a chance to talk about, each of the different restaurants and the food and the decor and what we liked most and some of the different aspects of the ship that we did enjoy. But I did want to ask you guys just real quick, because we did do a Disney Dream recap show, but I wanted to get your opinions specifically about the dining. Where there was a dining rotation. We went from Animator's Palette to Enchanted Garden to 2 nights at Royal Palace. I'll go through each of you guys individually real quick. Tell me which of those you preferred, why, whether it is decor, show, food, atmosphere, and maybe even a little bit at the service. We'll kind of just go top of list to bottom. Tony?
I don't know if I could really pick between. For the kids, I think the Animator's Palette wins out. The boys were beside themselves the whole evening. My youngest, Dylan, is completely obsessed with Nemo. So it's to see his eyes light up and him just with, swivel neck the whole evening. That was really special. The food was incredible at all of them. But I think that one will hold a special place for us.
Mary Jo, what about you?
I thought the food was the best at the Enchanted Garden. For what I ordered on that one, it was perfect. It was just awesome. I remember I had the ahi tuna with the avocado for my appetizer and caramelized sea scallops for my main course, and those were just, very memorable.
Stop, you're making me hungry. Scott Otis, if you say Flo's V8 Cafe, that's fine.
No, actually, my favorite was the Enchanted Garden. I really loved it, just the theme of that place, based on the Gardens of Versailles.
Rumi Nolan?
Oh,
all the food was amazing, from breakfast all the way into midnight buffet, which I so miss the midnight buffet. But I really think Royal Palace, like Mojo was saying, was just amazing. I would love to be able to eat there like every night, just because it was just a wonderful place to sit and just relax, and just the theming in there was incredible, I thought.
Tammy, real quick, what was your favorite?
I'd have to say Royal Palace. That area was so pretty. I like the princess theme about it. Took so many photos, and that's where I got to hug Lou Mangello for like a fifth time. So, that was probably my favorite restaurant. It was really sad to leave the ship, not having that as our last dinner, but I really did enjoy Royal Palace the best out of all three.
And Darlene, what about you?
Well, I have to commend the staff on the Disney Dream. My husband has allergies to food that give him headaches. And from the moment we stepped into Animator's Palette, we were greeted by our head server, Fitz, who stepped in and said, we're going to take care of everything for you and make sure your food is exactly how you need it. Not 10 minutes later, Chef Matthew walked out to our table, and our table was just blown away. They talked to him. They worked with him. All of his food, Chef Matthew wanted to make. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Didn't want to meet in anywhere or anything other than what he made him, because he knew his diet. And my husband said, he goes, he's never had service like that. He felt funny asking for like certain things, but they made sure they talked him into things that he did not know. And I have to say that I think Royal Palace was one of our favorites, especially the last night, because Pirate Night, Chef Matthew came out and said, Keith, I know you've been having an issue with the desserts and stuff and not ordering any. He goes, I'm going to make you a vanilla one. Because everybody else at your table, you're going to have something chocolate. Had no clue what it was going to be. We come down to that last night of dinner, and dinner was delicious. Every single meal we ate, we loved. I had sea bass. I had steak. Phenomenal. And that last night, Chef Matthew comes out and he goes, I'm bringing you guys, Keith, you're going to have a vanilla souffle with an alcohol-free creme brulee. And he goes, everybody else, you're getting Paolo's chocolate souffle. My mouth dropped to the floor. I wanted that so bad, that souffle, but we were like, no, we want to try all the other restaurants. And my husband was we were blown away by the service that we got for him. It's kudos to Disney for putting the staff together, because the food was great and my husband did phenomenal on this vacation.
Well, and I think that, even beyond the dining, I think you make a good point that I stressed when we did our first recap on the Dream. It's that ability to bring that Disney difference beyond the theme park experience. I didn't know if they could do it the first time I went on a Disney cruise. I think that they have certainly done it even more so here on the Disney Dream. And I too found the service very good, especially since, remember, too, it was a sort of very early on in the Disney Dream cruising. The staff was relatively new, but I think that they did an exceptional job, especially dealing with some people, Tony Caggiano, that had 5 and 6 appetizers at a time.
Yeah.
Well, Drew ordered the whole menu.
To my defense, I think the most I had was 3 entrees, though. So, if anyone said, I did have a certain amount of self-control.
Didn't Steve order every single thing one night?
Yeah, he did. He was doing 4 entrees and 5 appetizers a night, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they lost money on Steve. The stock took a little dip.
The best thing I've ever seen, though, was at Flo's V8 Cafe. The man got 2 pieces of barbecue chicken pizza, ordered 2 cheeseburgers without the bun, and made a chicken pizza, double chicken pizza burger. He used the pizza as the bun. Isn't that true, Lou?
And that was at 8:30 in the morning, too. So
yeah,
what all this stuff? Seriously.
Wow.
I know.
I feel sorry for Val.
I know. And like I said, there's so much more I wish that we could cover. We've unfortunately gone, so relatively long, and there's so much more to talk about. We didn't talk about just some of the Disney activities that were going on and things that you guys had done either individually or with your families. But the thing that I took away from the cruise personally was such a sense of community. I saw, people who were strangers come together in a short amount of time, form great relationships, form great friendships that they may have either started online beforehand or maybe just started online as they were waiting for Steve to make his buffalo chicken pizza burger sandwich. And it happened a lot. And I think that you guys can all sort of, say the same, that you had that same kind of experience on board. And when you get 500 strangers together on board a ship, there's so many different dynamics and personalities that you would expect there would be some kind of conflict. And it just didn't happen. There was just, it was great to see so many like-minded people having such a good time, and the feedback that we got from people both on board and then after they got off the ship via emails and Twitters and Facebook and whatnot was just so wonderful. So I'm so grateful to everybody who came on board, who was part of the cruise, who made it such a great experience for all of us. And certainly, again, I would be remiss if I did not give sincere thanks to Becky for all of her tireless efforts in making this happen, and her staff, who really sort of made sure things went so smoothly.
And I really have to say, Lou, thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of this. And I know that that it was a lot of work. There was a lot of hours that you and I put in on this. My staff, of course, once again, thank you for thanking them. They did a great job. But it was so wonderful to be a part of this and be part of the community. So thank you for allowing me to be part of it. Thank you for allowing me to put you in a chair and take away your microphone and tell you to sit back and relax. And I can't even imagine what we're going to be doing for 2012.
Bigger and better, baby. Bigger and better.
You're telling me?
The wheels are already spinning, believe me. And we will obviously post and share information about the fall 2012 cruise on the Disney Dream as soon as we get it. You, too, will be the first to know as soon as we get the dates from Disney and get those locked in. But before we go, again, I know we did skip a lot of stuff, even though we did go long. Maybe you guys want to share some final thoughts on your own. This time, I will go ladies first. I'll try and go in alphabetical order by last name, Mary Jo Collins.
Well, this trip was phenomenal, Lou, and I just wanted to thank you and Becky so much for getting us together. And even though it was really kind of my idea in the first place, but we won't talk about that. I do kind of remember being on one of those in the box chats and me talking about how Lou was going to give away a free cruise, and I still to this day believe that I'm the one that caused all this to happen. But anyway, it was so awesome, Lou. It was more than all of us could have ever hoped for or dreamed of. We've been planning and scheming, and Lori did such an awesome job getting all the Deck 7 people together and getting the shirts, and it was like a family reunion. I mean, it really was, and there was something for everybody. Even like my husband enjoyed it thoroughly, and he kind of felt maybe like the outsider at times, but when he came back to the stateroom one day and said, "Oh my gosh, you're not going to believe what I just saw," and I was like, "What?" He goes, "Captain Hook was playing Pac-Man in the arcade." And I was like, "Do what?" And that just showed me that, no matter who you are or what level of Disney fan you are, a Disney cruise is a great place to share a family vacation, and I would highly recommend it, whether or not you go on Lou's next cruise or whose cruise you go on. Definitely go on a Disney cruise.
Awesome. Thank you, Mary Jo. You definitely made it a lot of fun, and I appreciate that. And now, Darlene Nagy from
West Seneca, New York. Oh, guys, Lou, Becky, thank you so very much for putting this all together for us to be able to go on our first cruise. We had a phenomenal time, and it wouldn't have been I don't think as much fun without you and your team and all of the friends that I've met and made for life on this cruise. They've made me just feel so welcome so quickly, and I can't even imagine not having everybody in my life, and I cannot wait for the next one to come around. So thank you once again for making this a wonderful, wonderful memory for us.
Oh, thank you. And I will tell you, you made me smile every week as I put your voicemail into the show. Tammy Karaoke Tucky.
Well, it was so much fun. I finally got to meet people who really like Disney, and that was probably the best part of it. And I really do want to thank Becky and Lou. Thank you guys so much for putting this together. It's not even a year since I first discovered WDW Radio when I first met you guys. So I'm so blessed to have such good friends who understand Disney like I do, and it was so much fun. Thank you guys so much again.
I'm saying nothing.
You're not going to get your way out of this one at all.
Anthony Caggiano.
The thing about this cruise that got me the most, and Charlene and I had a long trip home to discuss it, was more so than the boat or anything else. It was really getting to know people better, getting to know our friends who we've known for a few years even better, getting to meet new people coming up to me, introducing themselves, and finally getting to put faces to names that we knew. And that was really it. Even after the cruise, we all hung out afterwards and saying the final goodbyes. And it was really, the whole thing was emotional, saying goodbye to everybody. We were crying, Steve Drew standing with tears in his eyes, hugging my kids. The whole thing like that was really amazing to me. Making new friends. We sat next to a incredible family, Jay and Lori Kibler, and talking to him. And this is a guy, just an incredible family. We laughed with him. And he's been listening to your show since the beginning. He knows everyone who's ever been on your show, but he hasn't participated as much. And his wife thanked me and you, in essence, for having him. He's a quiet guy, and having him, he just was talking away and meeting everybody and just having a great time. So just making new friends like that was really, and better friends of old friends, was really the best part of the cruise for me.
Awesome. What about you, Scott?
Yeah, for me, I had been cruising many times before, and every other time it's been about the ship pretty much. But this time, going with 400 to 500 of my closest friends, turning around and seeing Nicole and Dana over here, and then turning around and seeing Sandy and her two girls over there. And basically every time you turned around, it would be somebody else, like Jeremy or James. And that's really what it was, is just meeting all these new friends, hanging out with my old friends, and basically all of the new friends that I made are now my good friends. So it really was just about all the people. And for that, thank you for bringing us all together. That was really amazing.
Well, that's maybe the nicest, sincerest thing I've ever heard you say.
Aww.
Aww.
I'm not even going to punctuate it with a cheese joke. Nolan, bring it home. Go ahead.
Thank you guys for just allowing me to meet the rest of my Disney family. It was, like I said before at the beginning, it was the best Disney trip I've ever had in my life. And I can't thank you guys enough for that. The memories that I'm going to take away from this are just going to stick with me forever. And it was something that's going to carry me for a very, very long time. And I will be putting my pennies together in my basket to go on 2012. Thank you guys so much, and then thank you to the people that I hung out with on the ship and in the parks and everything. It was just the best time I've ever had in my life involved with Disney. Thank you just so much.
Ms. Becky Mankin, I will give you the final word, almost.
Oh, it was all about the people. I mean, I've been blessed enough to be able to go on several cruise lines and cruise ships and be able to travel a lot. But there's nothing like traveling with friends. And when we took on this undertaking, it was, like I said before, it was a huge piece of work, but man, it was so worth every single minute of it, even being locked out on the patio. And just having the opportunity to enjoy this with so many great people, thank you guys for coming along. And Lou, thank you for letting me be part of it and creating this dream with you. It was really magical for me.
I don't know how to match anything that you guys said without sounding completely redundant, because it is all about my thanking not just the 7 or 12 of you that are here, but everybody else who came on board. You made, for me personally, an experience that is one of the true highlights of anything I've done, not just Disney related, but just looking back, a memory I will take with me, like you guys said, forever. I look forward to doing it again, and I consider myself truly blessed to be able to share my passion with you guys and do what I do and have these kind of things. And because of the friendship that you have all extended to me, I am forever grateful. And I think the cruise is exactly what the logo promised. It was sort of that happiest cruise that ever sailed. And I'm so thankful for the fact that you all left the ship feeling the same way. So to Tony, Mary, Joe, Scott, Nolan, Tammy, Darlene, Becky, my wife who is sleeping upstairs somewhere, and everybody else who is part of the WDW Radio family. Thanks for joining me tonight. Thanks for joining me on the cruise, and thanks for listening for 2+ hours to our recap. And I hope to see you guys again in 2012.
Oh, agreed. Totally agreed.
Looking forward to it.
Yes, more magical things to happen.
More story time with Mojo next time.
A lot of fun with Darlene.
Maybe Olga could.
Karaoke time with Tammy.
Maybe Olga can finally show up.
Maybe
I want Olga to come. Oh my goodness.
Get to work, Becky.
I'm on it. I'm on it.
For Steve next time.
We'll talk about that other thing. The other thing.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, we've got. Shh, Tony, quiet. We don't want to give that away yet. We got a year to find out.
That's going to do it for this week's show. Thanks so much for taking the time and tuning in this and every week. Thanks again to all my guests and, of course, everybody who joined us on the WDW Radio Cruise. I apologize. No, the segment went a little long, maybe a lot long, but again, there was a lot to cover for the 4 days. I'll make these last few reminders really quick. Don't forget, if you want to interact with me and the show, lots of different ways to do it. Of course, you can always email me at lou@wdwradio.com. You can be heard on the air by calling the voicemail line toll-free at 888-703-2171. Visit the website at wdwradio.com. There you'll also find links to connect with me on Twitter. I'm at Lou Mongello. The Facebook friend page, which is facebook.com/WDW Radio. Lots more ways. You can also sign up for our free email newsletter. Talk with other Disney fans in our fun, friendly discussion forums. Read the blog posts. Check out videos, photos. Lots more going on there every day at wdwradio.com. There you can also buy signed copies of my Walt Disney World trivia books, the audio guides to Walt Disney World on CD or download. You can also get a link over to Celebrations Magazine, the print magazine, put together by Tim Foster and myself and a host of wonderful contributors. Check out our latest issue. Get back issues and subscribe over at celebrationspress.com. In addition to the show, don't forget to join me every Wednesday night for the WDW Newscast, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You go to wdwnewscast.com. You can watch and interact in a live video broadcast covering Walt Disney World news. You'll be able to be part of the broadcast, talk about it real time in the chat room, and of course, if you can't make it there live, you can always watch and comment over at youtube.com/WDW Radio, and I'll also put the audio-only portion of the newscast in the iTunes feed. Just visit iTunes and do a search for WDW Radio. In addition to the cruise coming in fall 2012, we have plenty of other events leading up to that. Of course, don't forget about the Meet of the Month in Walt Disney World, Destination D, Adventures by Disney, the D23 Expo out in California this summer, our 40-hour show celebrating the 40th anniversary of Walt Disney World, and lots more. For more information to find out more about upcoming events, go and visit DisneyMeets.com. Also, as part of our Disney events and the WDW Radio running team, you can be part if you want to partake in one of the endurance events in Walt Disney World or even Disneyland. You can be part of the running team, help us raise money to support the Make-A-Wish Foundation of America. Visit wdwradio.com/running for more information. Find out how you can be part of the team, either as an athlete or coming out to cheer. We're also going to be ordering the next round of shirts coming very soon, so if you are interested in joining, again, wdwradio.com/running. Thanks as always to my partners and sponsors, including MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. Becky and her team not only made the cruise possible, but they'll help you plan your Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, Adventures by Disney, vacation, and lots more, all with the exceptional level of personal service that really is their hallmark. Visit them over at mousefantravel.com. AllStarVacationHomes.com has more than 150 homes within just a couple of miles of Walt Disney World. So if you're looking for a house off property that has a private pool, spa, kitchen, game room, multiple master bedrooms, and lots more, go and visit AllStarVacationHomes.com. And if you're in downtown Disney looking for a fun place to eat with friends or family, go check out Bongo's Cuban Cafe in downtown Disney, recreating the feel of a 1950s Havana nightclub with exceptional food, wonderful live music and dancing on Friday and Saturday nights, indoor and outdoor seating, 3 bars, an express window outside. Go check them out on your next visit or go and visit them at bongoscubancafe.com. And finally, if you're looking to stay in the heart of Walt Disney World and enjoy all the amenities and luxuries that the Walt Disney World Swan and Dolphin have to offer, including the Mandara Spa, the 17 world-class restaurants, oh, how I love Blue Zoo, and of course, the incredible Heavenly Beds, go check them out over at swananddolphin.com. As always, my friends, if you like the show, all I ask is that you please help spread the word. Let others know about it. Tweet out that you're listening. Share the link on Facebook. Please come by, review the show and the free WDW Radio iPhone app over in iTunes. And of course, my friends, and you are my friends, there is plenty more coming from WDW Radio. Be sure and stay tuned. I want to thank you again for taking the time and tuning in this and every week. So until next time, remember, take those first steps towards pursuing your passion and following your dreams. And when you do, always, always keep moving forward. I hope you guys have a great week this week. See ya.
Hi, Lou. This is Lindsay King and Daniel Anderson, and we're from Oregon. We just wanted to say that we had a fabulous time on the cruise with you just a couple days ago on the Dream. Everything that you and the MEI Mouse Fan Travel people did was fabulous. All the activities you had planned, the contests you did, the prizes you gave out were amazing. The scavenger hunt you did was awesome. It was great just looking around the ship and getting to know all the different things. It was great meeting all the 457 people that came out. The shows were awesome. So I just want to say that you guys did a fabulous job on this trip, and hope you guys do an awesome job next time you guys do one. We're planning on coming to your next one, so we will keep listening for all the information, news, and we are coming back in September to Disney World with we're taking my parents and my aunt, and we should be having a fabulous time. So just wanted to say hi, and bye.
Hello, Lou. Hi, it's Darlene from Buffalo, New York. I am extremely excited to see all the information and all the pictures coming out from our WDW radio cruise. I had such a fabulous time. So did my husband. And we really missed being there and in Walt Disney World. We are trying to fill all of our time that we can right now with loading up pictures to Facebook and chatting with everybody in the forums and on Twitter. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. I miss the warm weather, that's for sure. It's 37 and dreary here in Buffalo today. Talk to you all real soon. Have a great day. Bye.
Hi, Lou. My name is Laura. I'm a big fan of your show from Pennsylvania. I have about a 3-hour round trip commute to and from work from Pennsylvania to New Jersey every day. And I download all of your podcasts to my iTunes iPod and listen to you. And as well at work, I go to WDW radio and listen to you as well. So you're my sanity when it's rainy and cold and snowy up here in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. My husband and I are looking to relocate to Florida in the next year or two, and we're hoping that dream will come true someday. And even when we move to Florida, we're going to be listening to you and picking up on all your travel tips and advice. So thanks, Lou. I'm a big fan, and we thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah.